Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every person's life when they must look in the mirror and accept a truth that is both powerful and uncomfortable. You are responsible for yourself. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to drag you to your goals, force you to grow, or build the life you dream of. That job is yours. There comes a point in your life when you must face a truth that many people avoid. No one is coming to rescue you from your struggles, your fears, your bad habits, or your unfulfilled dreams. The world will give you advice. People may support you, some may even guide you. But ultimately, the responsibility to rise belongs to you and you alone. You are the one who has to get up when you fall. You are the one who has to push through the days when you feel empty. You are the one who has to choose discipline when comfort looks tempting. We often wait for motivation, wait for the right moment, wait for someone to notice our potential, wait for a sign, wait for life to magically shift in our favor. But waiting is a trap. Waiting slowly steals your time, your energy, and your ambition. Because every minute you spend hoping someone else will change your situation is a minute you could have spent building yourself into someone stronger. The truth is, the world is busy fighting its own battles. People care, but they cannot carry your life for you. They cannot break your limitations. They cannot heal your wounds, and they cannot walk the path meant for you. This is your journey. No one can live it on your behalf. When you accept that nobody is coming to save you, something powerful happens. You stop relying on external forces and start trusting your own ability to create change. You begin to understand that everything you want, success, confidence, strength, peace, comes from the choices you make every day. You stop looking outward for solutions and start looking inward for growth. You stop hoping for miracles and start becoming one. This realization is not meant to scare you. It is meant to awaken you. It shifts your mindset from dependence to empowerment, from helplessness to control. Because once you understand that your progress depends on you become unstoppable. Taking responsibility is often misunderstood as a weight, a burden, or something that limits your life. But in reality, responsibility is the ultimate form of freedom. It is the moment you stop relying on luck, stop depending on others, and stop allowing circumstances to dictate the direction of your life. Responsibility is the shift from being controlled by life to taking control of life. When you take responsibility, you reclaim your power. You stop blaming your past, your environment, your upbringing, or the people who failed you. You begin to realize that while you cannot change what happened, you can absolutely change what happens next. You gain the freedom to rewrite your story, to choose your responses, and to shape your own future. That freedom only comes when you decide that your life is your own creation. Most people don't grow because they keep handing their power away. They say, I am like this because of them. I am stuck because of this. I can't because life is unfair. And the moment you adopt that mindset, you chain yourself to limitations that you actually have the ability to break. Responsibility unlocks those chains. It tells you you may not be able to control everything, but you can control how you respond, how you rise, and how you move forward. When you take responsibility for your mindset, you gain the freedom to choose positivity over negativity. When you take responsibility for your habits, you gain the freedom to create consistency and discipline. When you take responsibility for your actions, you gain the freedom to build the life you want instead of settling for the life you've been given. Responsibility is not about blaming yourself. It is about owning your power. It means realizing that your decisions shape your future, that your focus shapes your progress, and that your effort shapes your results. And when you truly understand this, life becomes a place of possibility rather than limitation, because every choice becomes a tool, every action becomes a step, and every day becomes an opportunity. You have the freedom to direct everything you experience in life. Every challenge, every success, every moment of growth begins with the way you think. Your mindset is the foundation of your reality. It shapes your decisions, influences your habits, and ultimately determines the path you walk. Before you ever take a step, your mind has already chosen the direction. Most people underestimate the power of their thoughts. They don't realize that the story they tell themselves internally becomes the life they live externally. If you constantly tell yourself you are not enough, you will live cautiously, avoiding risks, avoiding opportunities, and avoiding growth. If you convince yourself that life is unfair, you will view every challenge as an attack instead of a lesson. But if you build a mindset that believes in possibility, in discipline, in growth, and in resilience, then every door becomes an invitation and every setback becomes a stepping stone. Your mindset decides how you respond to adversity. Two people can face the same obstacle. One sees it as a wall, the other sees it as a test. One gives up, the other grows stronger. The difference is not the obstacle, the difference is the mindset. A powerful mindset does not remove challenges from your life, but it gives you the strength and clarity to overcome them. A strong mindset also determines the standards you set for yourself. When your mind is focused on growth, you choose habits that support your goals. You surround yourself with people who uplift you. You pursue ideas that expand your limits. But when your mind is filled with doubt, fear, or negativity, you begin to accept less than what you deserve. You shrink, you settle, and you sabotage your own progress. Every dream you have requires a version of you that thinks differently. You cannot achieve a big goal with a small mindset. You cannot build a strong life with weak beliefs. That is why your mindset must be trained, strengthened, and protected. It must be fed with ideas that push you forward, not hold you back. Your mindset is the lens through which you see the world. Change the lens, and you change the world you experience. And the moment you decide to take control of your thinking, you take control of your path. Excuses are one of the most silent but powerful forces that hold people back from becoming who they are meant to be. They don't attack loudly, they whisper softly. They tell you that you're too tired, too busy, too stressed, too late, too inexperienced, too unlucky. And the moment you accept those excuses, you hand your potential away piece by piece. Excuses are the invisible chains that keep you trapped where you are. Every time you say, I can't, when you actually mean I won't, you give up control of your future. Every time you blame the situation instead of looking for a solution, you limit the person you could become. Excuses make today comfortable, but tomorrow painful. They offer temporary relief while destroying long-term growth. They make you feel safe while stealing the opportunities that could change your life. Most excuses are rooted in fear. Fear of failing, fear of looking foolish, fear of discomfort, fear of trying and not succeeding. But the truth is, every successful person you admire felt the same fears. The difference is that they chose action over excuses. They refused to let fear speak louder than ambition. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They created progress in imperfect moments. When you allow excuses to control your life, you build a habit of avoiding responsibility. You convince yourself that life is stopping you when in reality, you're stopping yourself. And the more excuses you make, the easier it becomes to make them again. It becomes automatic, it becomes normal, becomes comfortable, and comfort is the enemy of growth. But the moment you take ownership and stop accepting excuses, something shifts inside you. You begin to rise. You start to see solutions instead of obstacles. You realize that discipline is a choice, consistency is a choice, and improvement is a choice. You understand that you may not control everything, but you can control your effort, your attitude, and your commitment. Excuses will always be available, but so will opportunities. And the direction your life goes depends on which one you choose more often. Every time you silence an excuse, you take one step closer to the person you are capable of becoming. Every time you push yourself despite discomfort, You grow stronger, sharper, and more unstoppable. Your future is not built in a single moment of inspiration. It is built in the quiet, repetitive actions you take every single day. Your habits are the architects of your destiny. They shape your identity, your discipline, your mindset, and ultimately the results you see in your life. Whether you realize it or not, your habits are either pulling you forward or holding you back. Most people focus only on big goals, but they overlook the small behaviors that lead to those goals. They want success without consistent effort, confidence without practice, progress without discipline. But life doesn't work that way. What you repeatedly do becomes who you are. If you spend every day procrastinating, avoiding challenges, and choosing comfort, you build a future that reflects those choices, a future full of missed opportunities and unrealized potential. But if you spend every day improving yourself, even in small ways, you build momentum, strength, and a sense of purpose that grows with time. Habits are powerful because they operate even when motivation disappears. Motivation comes in waves. Sometimes you feel unstoppable, and sometimes you don't feel like moving at all. But habits carry you through those low moments. They give you structure when your emotions are unstable. They give you direction when your mind is tired. They become the automatic behaviors that keep you aligned with your goals even when your feelings try to pull you away. Every habit you build sends a message to your future self. A healthy habit tells your future self, I care about where we're going. A disciplined habit says, I am committed to becoming better. A negative habit says, I am choosing comfort over growth. And over months and years, these messages turn into reality. The reality you live in, the identity you wear, and the results you achieve. Your habits also shape your confidence. When you prove to yourself daily that you can stay consistent, you start believing your capability. You build trust with yourself. And there is nothing more powerful than a person who believes in their own discipline. But when you constantly break your own promises, when you say you'll change and never do, you weaken that trust. You begin to doubt yourself. You start to think that maybe you aren't capable. But the truth is, you are not lacking potential. You are lacking consistent habits. The beauty of habits is that you don't need to change everything at once. You don't need to take giant steps. Even small habits, if repeated daily, create massive transformations over time. 1 page a day becomes a book. 10 minutes of practice becomes mastery. A short workout becomes strength. Every tiny improvement becomes part of the foundation that builds your future. Accountability is one of the most transformative forces in your life because it forces you to confront the truth about your actions, your choices, and your results. When you hold yourself accountable, you stop hiding behind excuses and start owning the outcomes you create. Accountability is not about guilt or punishment. It is about clarity, honesty, and progress. Most people avoid accountability because it is uncomfortable. It requires you to look at your flaws, your mistakes, and the areas you've been avoiding. It demands that you recognize where you fell short, where you could have tried harder, and where you allowed fear or laziness to dominate your actions. But that discomfort is exactly what leads to growth. You cannot improve what you refuse to acknowledge. When you practice accountability, you gain a deeper awareness of yourself. You start to recognize patterns, the habits that help you and the habits that harm you. You learn to see where you need discipline, where you need boundaries, and where you need to change your approach. Accountability acts like a mirror, showing you who you are today and who you must become to reach your goals. Accountability also builds strength because it teaches you resilience. Instead of collapsing under your failures, you learn to analyze them, learn from them, and rise stronger. You stop viewing setbacks as a proof that you're not capable and start viewing them as feedback that guides your next step. Every challenge becomes a lesson. Every mistake becomes a stepping stone. And accountability boosts your confidence. When you take responsibility for your actions and follow through on your commitments, you begin to trust yourself more deeply. You stop doubting whether you can keep your word. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You living in a cycle of wanting change but not taking action. Accountability creates consistency, and consistency creates self-belief. It also improves the quality of your relationships. When you are accountable, you communicate honestly, admit your faults, and show respect for others by taking ownership of your behavior. People trust you more because they see that you are reliable, responsible, and willing to grow rather than blame others. But the most important part of accountabilities is that it puts you in control. When you stop blaming your circumstances, your past, or other people, you reclaim your power to change. Instead of waiting for life to improve, you become the force that improves it. You understand that growth is not something that happens to you. It is something you create through awareness, responsibility, and disciplined action. A discipline is the backbone of every achievement, every transformation, and every meaningful accomplishment. Motivation may spark the journey, but discipline is what keeps you moving when that spark fades, and it will fade. There will be days when you feel inspired, energized, and ready to conquer anything. But there will also be days when you feel tired, bored, overwhelmed, or simply not in the mood. That is when discipline becomes your greatest ally. Motivation is emotional. It depends on how you feel in the moment. It rises and falls like the weather. You can't rely on it to carry you consistently toward your goals. If you only act when you're motivated, you will always fall short because your feelings will never stay strong long enough to build something meaningful. But discipline is different. Discipline is a choice. Discipline is a commitment. Discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. When you build discipline, you train yourself to follow through. You teach your mind and body to show up regardless of excuses, distractions, or doubts. You develop the ability to take control of your actions instead of letting your emotions control you. That's where real strength begins. Not in doing something when it's easy, but in doing it when it's hard. Discipline creates momentum. When you show up consistently, day after day, effort after effort, you start to gather strength. You start to build habits that carry you forward. You start to see progress, even small progress, and that progress becomes fuel. Over time, the things that once felt difficult become normal. The things that once required effort become automatic. And discipline transforms your life from the inside out. And discipline builds character. It teaches you patience, resilience, and self-respect. When you prove to yourself that you can stay committed, even in hard times, you develop a deep trust in your own abilities. You stop seeing yourself as someone who quits or hesitates and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, someone who keeps going, someone who does not break under pressure. That identity is powerful. It shapes the way you move through the world. Discipline also separates the dreamers from the achievers. Anyone can have goals. Anyone can talk about success. Anyone can imagine a better life, but only the disciplined take the steps to make that life real. Only the disciplined wake up early, stay focused, make sacrifices, and push through resistance. Only the disciplined climb day after day until they reach the top. Motivation may feel good, but it will not take you far. Discipline, on the other hand, may feel tough, but it will take you anywhere you want to go. It is the secret ingredient behind every strong mind, every successful person, and every great achievement. Life will always bring challenges, unexpected problems, disappointments, failures, and moments that test your patience, your strength, and your belief in yourself. You cannot avoid these moments, and you cannot control when they arrive. But what you can control fully and completely is how you respond. And that response shapes everything. Two people can face the same hardship, but their outcomes will be completely different depending on their mindset. One person sees the challenge as a reason to quit. The other sees it as a reason to push harder. One person focuses on the pain. The other focuses on the lesson. One person becomes overwhelmed. The other becomes wiser and stronger. The challenge is the same. The response is what creates the difference. Your response determines whether a SPAC becomes set dead end or a stepping stone. When something goes wrong, you can choose frustration, blame, and self-doubt, or you can choose learning, resilience, and growth. When life hits you unexpectedly, you can either fall apart or stand up taller. That choice belongs to you, not to your circumstances. Challenges reveal your character, but they also build your character. They test your patience, force you to adapt, and push you beyond your comfort zone. Every time you choose a strong response, calm instead of panic, focus instead of fear, determination instead of defeat, you evolve, upgrade. You sharpen your mind and toughen your spirit. What once seemed impossible becomes manageable. What once overwhelmed you becomes something you can handle with confidence. Your response all sets the tone for your entire journey. When you carry a mindset that says, I will find a way, you unlock creativity and resourcefulness. When you choose to see challenges as opportunities, you transform your struggles into fuel for your progress. And when you learn to control your reactions, you gain control over your emotions, your decisions, and your direction. You may not be able to stop storms from coming, but you can learn how to navigate them. You can learn to breathe through the chaos, think clearly under pressure, and rise even when everything around you feels uncertain. That is strength. Not the absence of difficulty, but the ability to face it with purpose. The truth is, challenges are not meant to break you. They are meant to shape you. They reveal your weaknesses so you can turn them into strengths. They expose what you need to improve so you can grow. They push you to discover parts of yourself you never knew existed. The resilient parts, the disciplined parts, the courageous parts. And every time you choose a powerful response, you take back control of your life. You prove that circumstances may test you, but they will never define you unless you let them. One of the most important truths you will ever learn is this: your life is a direct reflection of what you allow. The people you let close, the habits you repeat, the thoughts you entertain, and the boundaries you set or fail to set. You have far more control over your environment, your influences, and your energy than you realize. And the moment you understand that, everything in your life begins to shift. The people around you shape your mindset. They influence how you think, how you behave, and how you see yourself. If you surround yourself with negative, lazy, or unmotivated individuals, you will slowly absorb their patterns. Their doubts will become your doubts. Their fears will influence your choices. Their excuses will sound normal. But if you choose to surround yourself with driven, focused, and uplifting people, you rise naturally. Their energy pushes you. Their discipline inspires you. Their mindset sharpens yours. You begin to expect more from yourself because the environment around you demands it. You also control the habits you allow into your daily routine. Every high habit you entertain either strengthens you or weakens you. Some habits drain your future while others build it. Some habits take you backward, while others push you forward. And whether a habit stays or goes depends on what you tolerate. Tolerate procrastination, and it becomes your default. Tolerate bad sleep, and your energy suffers. Tolerate inconsistency, and your goals slip away. But if you choose to allow discipline, focus, and structure into your life, your results begin to change, not by luck, but by alignment. Your thoughts are another thing you control. You may not stop every negative thought from appearing, but you decide whether that thought stays, grows, or dies. If you allow constant self-doubt, criticism, and fear into your mind, you weaken your confidence. But if you choose thoughts of strength, possibility, and determination, you build a resilient mindset that can face anything. Your internal environment matters just as much as your external one. Boundaries are a form of control as well. You must decide what behavior you accept from others, what energy you allow into your space, and what direction you permit your life to move in. When you lack boundaries, people take your time, drain your peace, and interrupt your growth. But when you enforce boundaries, you protect your focus, your mental clarity, and your emotional well-being. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about choosing what deserves to be close. Even your physical environment plays a role. The places you spend time influence your productivity, your mood, and your discipline. A messy, chaotic environment feeds procrastination and stress. A clean, organized environment supports clarity and progress. What you allow into your surroundings becomes part of your daily energy. And then there is your attention, the most valuable resource you have. What you give your attention to grows. If you allow distractions, negativity, and shallow entertainment to consume your time, you lose focus. But if you choose to give your attention to purpose, improvement, learning, and meaningful goals, your life transforms. In every moment, you are choosing what to allow, and what you allow becomes your reality. When you take control of your environment, your influences, and your inner world, you take control of your life. You begin to rise with intention instead of drifting without direction. Your life rises or falls to the level of the standards you set for yourself. Standards are the invisible rules you live by, the expectations you hold, the behaviors you accept, and the level of effort you're willing to give. And if you don't set those standards intentionally, life will set them for you. People will set them for you. Your emotions, your habits, and your environment will decide your path instead of you deciding it for yourself. Setting your own standards means refusing to live on autopilot. It means deciding what kind of person you want to be and what kind of life you want to build. Then matching your actions to that vision. You cannot expect a strong life if you hold weak standards. You cannot expect success if you consistently settle for the bare minimum. You cannot expect respect from others if you do not respect yourself first. Low standards create a life filled with frustration, inconsistency, and disappointment. When you tolerate laziness, it becomes your routine. When you accept disrespect, it becomes normal. When you let your emotions dictate your decisions, you lose control of your direction. But the moment you raise your standards, everything around you shifts, not because the world changes, but because you change. And setting high standards is not about being perfect. It is about refusing to shrink yourself for comfort. It's saying, I expect more from myself. It's demanding effort even when no one is watching. It's choosing responsibility over excuses, discipline over distraction, and purpose over pleasure. When you set high standards, you stop negotiating with your goals. You stop allowing your weaker impulses to lead your future. Your standards influence the people you allow in your life as well. When your standards rise, your circle changes. You stop giving access to people who drain your energy, who lower your frequency, who discourage your growth. You start surrounding yourself with people who challenge you, who elevate you, who push you to become better. Your relationships shift because high standard people don't tolerate low standard environments. Standards also shape the way you handle challenges. A person with low standards breaks easily. A person with high standards remains consistent even in pressure. Someone with high standards doesn't give up when things get harder. They adjust, they learn, they push forward. Their expectations for themselves keep them moving even when motivation fades. And when you set your standards, you begin to build an identity that supports your goals. You see yourself differently. You carry yourself differently. You show up differently. Discipline becomes normal. Focus becomes natural. Consistency becomes expected, not optional. You don't wait for life to demand more of you. You demand more of yourself. Your standards are the foundation of your self-worth and your future. They determine what you chase, what you accept, what you walk away from, and what you believe you deserve. When you raise them, you raise your entire life. When you strengthen them, you strengthen your character. And when you live by them, you create a future that reflects your highest potential. At the end of the day, everything comes back to one truth: your life is in your hands. Your growth, your discipline, your mindset, your habits, your reactions, your future, they all begin with you. You can have all the potential in the world, but none of it matters until you take ownership of your journey. You are the author of your story, the builder of your progress, and the one who decides how far you will go. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be willing to take responsibility and move forward with intention. Because every step you take, no matter how small, is a step toward the person you are capable of becoming. Life will test you, challenge you, and push you, but it will also reward you for your strength, your resilience, and your commitment. You are not limited by your past. You are not defined by your mistakes. You are shaped by what you choose to do next. So rise with purpose, stand with confidence, move with determination. Hold yourself to a standard that reflects your worth. And remember that you have the power to rebuild, to restart, to rise again, and to rewrite your future. Because at the end of everything, when it's just you and your dreams, the truth remains: you are responsible for your life. You are responsible for your growth. You are responsible for your future. And the moment you embrace the truth fully, boldly, fearlessly, nothing can stop you.